So exciting to have you here.
Yeah, we are Emma and Eleanor, co-founders of the Reconnected and Reconnected Parenting. And we are just so excited to be getting started with sharing some really fun content, speaking about topics that are just near and dear to the work that we're doing here at the Reconnected and inside Reconnected Parenting. One where we're getting started right now is the topic of birth patterns. And if you've been following our Instagram, you would have seen we have been in this topic for a bit now. And there's been a
Mm.
lot of resonance because it's a very intriguing topic to go on.
It's an intriguing topic and it's relevant to everyone because everyone who's here has been born. Like it's something
Yes.
that we honestly do have in common. So
Yeah.
everyone can relate or be intrigued by what the effect that their birth might have had on them. But
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people were kind of curious about what the I think like most people resonate or it rings true that of course we are influenced by our birth, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's one of the most profound experiences we have as parents. And what's kind of new to thinking actually is that it might also be profound experience for the baby. And in reality, um, most people don't realize just how much they are influenced by their birth. And in fact, what we understand as rebirthing breath workers is that our birth is one of the most influential moments of our life. It continues to impact us right up into adulthood. And you are probably completely unconscious and unaware when your birth pattern is playing out. So,
Yeah.
what's the benefit of knowing about this? And one of the hugest benefits is we get to really understand and know the deepest patterns, our deepest core perspectives, um, especially those areas where we feel particularly stuck and just can't ever access change, like that we just can't
Yeah. It's
um,
really,
do.
it makes the unconscious. Yeah, it makes the unconscious conscious. And when we start to become aware of our birth pattern, it actually helps us to start to do things very differently. It's also incredibly
Mm,
powerful for birth preparation. So, if we are
mm,
going to be having a baby, this level of awareness can be extremely impactful for your higher awareness when you're moving into that birth space. And we can also realize the impact of our child's birth and how it has affected them in ways, and we learn how to support them to move through their birth pattern and find resolution and wholeness within it.
mm. So I think, one of the most fascinating things I think for people around birth patterns is a lot of us don't realize that we're coming from this perspective that when children are born, they won't remember anything.
Yeah.
They don't remember. And it's true that we don't have conscious adult memories of those times. But what we do have is a body memory and a somatic emotional imprint that actually is at play more frequently than we realize. So, this is a really exciting topic, especially if you're interested in self awareness, if you're interested in conscious parenting. This is like a whole new level. And I
Yeah.
think one thing that's been really interesting for us is, birth patterns and birth imprints have actually been, a part of our understanding for many, 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 many years. And when we first started to kind of talk about it a little bit on Instagram,
Which was
people
about
were so
2020,
appreciative.
right? Yeah.
Even like 4 years ago, people were so triggered on this topic, which I completely understand because it can feel a little bit distressing for some people, especially if they've had a traumatic birth.
Yeah.
Um, Especially if their kids were born and didn't go the way they'd planned.
Yeah.
Yet, what's really fascinating to me is that 4 years later, we released even just almost the same kind of content, and it's being received in a completely different way. And I have so many ideas about why this might be the case, but what it said to us is it's just time to share more widely about this. And this is something that we've been living for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would love to introduce myself. I am one of the co-founders here at the Reconnected, and I really spontaneously fell into rebirthing breathwork. And it's rebirthing breathwork comes through my particular lineage, a man named Leonard Orr. And once we get into the birth patterns topics, we're going to talk a lot about the history and all this stuff. But I just had no concept of that our birth impacted us at all. And my mother had always told me, you were a really easy birth. You were born in 2 hours, signed and sealed, nothing. She never went into my birth. And one of the processes that we have to do when we become rebirthing breath workers is ask our mum about our birth. And oh my goodness, it blew my mind because my mum was so cagey about it. There's a whole list of questions that we had to ask, and I was asking her, and she just kept shutting them down. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. And I was like, wow, this is so intriguing. And I went into my rebirthing study, and I over time made a touchstone into my birth. And I just had so much awareness drop in for some of the patterns that have been happening in my life. And I was hooked. I went on to study rebirthing breathwork. I got a mastery, which means I did many, many hundreds of hours of breathwork. I even did underwater rebirthing, which is a process that taps into that womb state when we're in the womb. So I've been immersed now in the topic of birth patterns since my first son was born 9 years ago. And I believe it has been the blessing that was delivered for me in order to go on to have four more kids and just have a higher perspective around what I was going to be experiencing in the birth, and also ways in which I could rewire certain patterns that I was seeing within my own kids. And I'm just so excited to get into this topic because the work that we're doing in reconnected parenting, we are holding this space for our kids in order to rewire some of the stressful things that have happened to them over their life, and give them ways in which they can show us things that are happening for them. And this topic is just taking that a whole level deeper. So I'm really excited to get into it. And I'm also excited for Eleanor to be sharing because you have a really rich history with rebirthing.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, you know, I'm just thinking about where to start. Funnily enough, when I came first to what's called Rebirthing Breathwork Mastery, is the lineage that I'm trained in. When I first came to that practice, actually, it was commonly called Breathwork Mastery. This was in the early 2000s. And we're going to go into the history, like Emma said, but at the time, the rebirthing element had kind of dropped out of popularity, actually. And so when I first started training in breathwork, it was a breath focused with this deep understanding that our most impactful experience is in utero and birth. And I guess what I really discovered about myself was that um, I've always related to life as though it's really hard. What had been true for me up until then was that I had kind of made a commitment to myself that I would never enjoy myself and life was hard. And funnily enough, it wasn't ever something that I consciously thought about. I just went about my everyday life, but it was, I guess, relatively conditioned kind of experience. I did the things I thought that my family and my and society, I guess, expected me to do. Having said that, I was from a relatively alternative part of Australia, so it did have its like the alternative bent to it, where I was into yoga and all those things. Um, but I guess I guess what it was is that I didn't question. I didn't know why I did what I did. I just went about life doing what I thought I should do based on the lives of the people who were around me. And I honestly had this relationship with life where it just felt quite mundane. And um, I definitely was experienced like a lot of hardship. So my relationships felt like really hard work. My finances felt like really hard work. Parenting felt like really hard work. And I couldn't even really see it. I just felt like that's all that there was in life. And it wasn't until I started exploring my psyche using the breath that I discovered that actually I had picked up a lot of misunderstandings about what life was like. And it's an incredible thing to discover your unconscious and just how much it drives your way of relating with every single element of your life. Our It's essentially the lens through which we view the world, you know, um, without even realizing. It's like wearing sunglasses that have a color on it, and but having never taken the sunglasses off, so you assume that the world is that color, you know. Um, and so, for me, breath work and in particular, resolving the impressions that we get from life during from conception until the first kind of early years of our life, has been the thing that has given me conscious choice about how my life goes. And it's so exciting to me to be living an absolutely thrilling life that feels completely intuitive. I realized recently, because, this stepping into consciously living and conscious awareness is something goes on and on and on. I realized recently I am having so much fun. My life right now is pure fun. There might not be any area of my life, maybe a few small things, that is not fun. And so it is the complete rewiring of my initial impression of life, which is that life is hard and to be endured. Instead, life is fun and to be played, is how I experience my life now. And as I go into my 40s and I'm well aware that I have still many, 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 many years to live my life, I feel so blessed to be at a place where I experience a lot of choice and about how I experience the world, kind of doesn't matter what's happening around you. If your internal world is not in good shape, then you're not going to enjoy any of it at any time anyway. So this is this essential work, really. So,
Yeah.
over the next like month or so, we're going to be dropping so much fun content. We're going to be talking
Yep.
about birth imprints from every possible angle. We're going to talk about
Yep.
preparing for your own birth if you're pregnant, for giving birth if you're pregnant. We're going to talk about the impact of your own birth. We've got some incredible experts and guides from this field coming and talking.
Yeah.
What else have we got going
And you know
on?
what? Well, Eleanor and I are just really excited because we have seen hundreds, if not more, people
Mm,
find the gold out of their birth pattern through rebirthing breathwork. And so it's just an exciting thing for us to have conversations with other people who don't necessarily do breath work but have other different ways or seen other different things. And it's just to have this conversation because the world is opening up to the wisdom that is available. And
mm.
yeah, I'm just super excited to get into it. And I am, yeah, I just don't even want to give anything away because I think it's
Right,
just going to
yeah.
be fun to go on this journey together, you know? So I would
One,
love to hear. Yep, you go.
one of the first things we're going to touch on is just looking at the history. I think a lot of people are like, wow, breathwork is taking over the world right now. But there's so many different kinds. They're all different.
Yeah,
Not all are have the rebirthing perspective. So we're going to start by just giving you guys some context so you can really understand where we're coming from, and also how not all breathwork is made equal. You know, it's
yes, very.
such an umbrella term these days. So we're going to talk all about that to start with, and then I mean the schedule is just incredible.
Yeah.
Wait till you
And
wait till you experience it.
you know, I would love to hear from you now. Is pop a comment below here. Introduce yourself. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know if you are a OG, the original Reconnected community, or if you're coming in fresh and this is the first time you've ever met us. And what brought you here? What was the thing that intrigued you about birth patterns? Is it your children's birth? Maybe your birth? Maybe you're just aware that humans are actually way more aware from the moment they are conceived until they take their first breath. What is it for you? We would love to hear. And we're super excited, everyone. So we'll be seeing you soon with the next content.
See you soon. Yeah.